Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today is Monday, July 8th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Supreme Court clears the way for Donald Trump to restart massive layoffs across nearly 24 federal agencies. Also, speaking of these idiots, they're now signaling that able-bodied adults on Medicaid may soon be expected to replace undocumented farm workers. Then they say those same farm workers, yeah, y'all ain't getting amnesty. Proposed changes to the public service loan forgiveness program could significantly impact borrowers, especially African Americans We'll talk with an expert about that. Plus, the ladies of Crimson and Cream are taking over Washington, D.C. Delta Sigma Theta has our 57th National Convention here. We'll talk with their international president about their gathering. Plus, in tonight's Shop, BlackStarNetwork.com marketplace will spotlight Leafy, an eco-friendly brand that's reinventing everyday essentials, starting with, yes, bamboo toilet paper. Plus, how did a provision allowing you to deduct gambling losses get into the Republicans' big, beautiful bill? Told you they're frauds. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, the Supreme Court has cleared the way for Donald Trump to fire millions of federal workers that they were trying to wipe out with DOGE. Now, the Supreme Court overturned a lower court ruling, paving the way for this action to take place. Now, here's what they basically said. Remember, in February, Donald Trump signed an executive order directing agencies to prepare for workforce reductions. Supreme Court says that's likely lawful, thus allowing those layoffs to proceed. However, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson strongly disagreed. She was the only justice to dissent, criticizing the court's decision as hubristic and senseless. She said it's the wrong decision at the wrong moment, especially given what little this court knows about what is actually happening on the ground. She argued that her colleagues were making judgments from a, quote, lofty perch far from the facts. She also cautioned the court that they lack a real understanding of the current situation on the ground and described this ruling as the wrong decision at the wrong time. Now, keep in mind, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who often rules along with Jackson, she agreed with the rest of the court, saying that the problem is what's before the court is not the actual plan, saying they have been presented with one. This, though, is devastating news for a number of federal workers, and this could cause more chaos. My panel, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of D.C., Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor at University of Central Florida out of Orlando, and social justice leader and movement strategist, Talik Muhammad, who joins us as well from D.C. Mustafa, I'll start with you. You've been one of those federal workers working in one of these agencies, and what we know is that lots of people have been despondent or unsure. This impacts not only the workers, their husbands, their wives, their partners, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, whatever you want to call them, the children, folks in college. People don't understand what it means when you do mass layoffs like this. You are causing a significant amount of harm up and down the board.
Yeah, you destabilize the economy, which is, something that everybody says that they care about and that they're trying to, to stimulate, because people think, well, it's just folks in Washington, D.C., but there are a large number of federal employees all across our country that help to prop up the economies in mid-size and larger cities, of course, and sometimes in much smaller areas. So you do that. But what's more important also is the fact that you actually are putting us in a situation where the social safety net that is so critically important in this country is being slashed by these sets of actions. There could be service disruptions. There will be service disruptions. Let me be very clear, because I've worked with over 17 federal agencies over the years. So I know the work that they do. I know how important it is. I know the high level that they do it at. So whether we're talking about healthcare or Social Security, Veterans Affairs, a number of different agencies and departments play a critical role in making sure that those services are out there. The other question that folks should be asking in this moment, based upon this Supreme Court decision, is about the power balance or power imbalance, if you will, because Congress traditionally has been the one who makes decisions about restructuring or building federal agencies. But now we have given deference to this administration, which sort of rules through executive orders. I remember when folks said executive orders don't really have the power of law, but now, because of the silence from folks on Capitol Hill, you're giving an individual who has no idea what's going on. The other thing that I'll say, before I close here, is the fact that, folks on Capitol Hill actually need to do their job. Because they're not doing their job, they're creating all of this, unstable or unstableness that's currently going on. And, these Supreme Court justices, I know that they have, really important cases that they're often focusing upon, but they need to get out of D.C. and actually spend some time in Kansas City, spend some time in Pittsburgh, spend some time in Atlanta and a number of other locations across our country to actually see how these impacts are happening, both physically, mentally, and spiritually on people, because these stressors, cause additional diseases. The mental impacts also of not knowing if you're going to be able to do the job that you took an oath to do. There are a number of things that play out underneath of this scenario. So yes, I know that this has went back to the lower court and that folks will continue to litigate. But as they are doing this, they put these folks in limbo and in many instances have taken away the things that people love. They want to serve this country. They want to do a good job, and people just continue to slash and burn without really having a real understanding of how it's going to play out.
Larry, you've also worked on Capitol Hill, and the point that Mustafa makes there about services, about what people do, it's important, the delivery of services. They're talking about cutting thousands of people. They made these decisions, no plan at all. It was just very willy-nilly. There was no strategic decision-making involved, and that's what's so problematic for lots of people.
So this, what's happening with DOGE, and obviously this particular ruling you talked about is a slash and burn as it relates to the federal workforce. You hear a lot, people talk a lot about, for instance, supporting veterans, but the VA is going to see substantial cuts. As Mustafa highlighted, there are a number of federal services that Americans take for granted and have for decades, for generations, that are going to be impacted by this decision and the possible cuts. I want to highlight two other things I think are really important. The impact this is going to have on Black folks. About 19% of the federal workforce is Black, and we make up almost 15% of the U.S. population. So we outpace in terms of the percentage of Black folks in the federal workforce. And so this is going to have substantial impact on Black people, as Mustafa highlighted when we talk about healthcare. Another thing we'll talk about in terms of housing, paying your mortgage or rent, et cetera. The second thing I want to highlight as it relates to this particular ruling, Roland, is it's interesting how the Supreme Court during the Biden administration felt like they had to reel the Biden administration in terms of the executive branch. But every decision that comes out the last several weeks is essentially giving more power to the executive branch, the Trump administration. So there's a contradiction in terms of what exactly the Supreme Court, what is it doing in terms of the Biden and Trump administration. But overall, this is a devastating ruling. And as I said, will have a substantial impact on the Black middle class.
Tyler, one of the things that I think we need to recognize here, and this is something that you've heard people say, this is a perfect example of what happens when you exact an agenda. And let's be perfectly clear that if a Democratic president did what Donald Trump is doing, there will be howls and screaming from right-wing media and Republicans, and probably some Democrats too. But this is also what happens when you excise power, when you use power. And so we've heard this from other conservatives say, hey, Democrats get back in power, they can use the same thing. This should be a lesson to any Democrat who wants to be president one day. Damn it, when you get power, use it.
Exactly, Roland. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we have to play a more aggressive game. Because this, as we see here, this is about government efficiency. It's about political retaliation. And I think when we see what Trump happened, it being able to fire tens of thousands of workers without cause, it's not just a shift in the country, but it's a dangerous blow to how democratic protections have played in past times. As you said, for future president, we understand like if he is taking his power to this extent, we must, take that same power as mentioned before. And as even mentioned by our panelists, this is affecting many Black and brown workers who have historically relied on civil service jobs as pathways to the middle class. And I think this could dismantle these safeguards to really be loyal to one man or one party. And I think it's definitely a blow.
Again, I just want people to understand when you get power, you use it or you lose it. And that's what we're seeing right here. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We'll talk with the international president of Delta Sigma Theta. They're going to have more than 20,000 Deltas here in the nation's capital for their biannual convention. And we'll talk about what their agenda is, especially this MAGA hellhole we're living in. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
The mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network. This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
You know, the last thing you want is in the midst of trying to piece your life back together for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Trudy Proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Y'all, lots of red and white here in the nation's capital. Now, one of my little producers, like, nah, it's crimson and cream. Whatever, it's red and white. They're going to be in the nation's capital, thousands here. Convention started yesterday. Joining us right now is the international president of Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated. Of course, Elsie Cooks. Elsie's here. Now, look, first of all, let's be real clear, Elsie. It's a whole lot of y'all here. How many of y'all here? How many hotels y'all taking up?
A lot of us here. Hey, Roland, great to see you.
Okay, Elsie, hold up.
There are a lot of us here.
It's only day two.
There are over 20,000. There are over 20,000 of us registered. There are over almost 15,000 registered virtually as well. And you know, some of those virtual attendees travel to DC as well. So you are right. The town is painted crimson and cream here in the city of Washington, D.C.
So help me out. You got 20,000 registered in person, 15,000 virtual, and you know you got a few thousand who ain't registered who just popped into town. So we know.
Oh, you know it. You know it.
Go ahead.
I said, you know it. You know that we have many members who have traveled here. Those who did not get the opportunity to register, who can still come to many events on guest passes, but they can be in the number. In addition to, again, some of those who are virtual, who chose to travel to Washington, D.C. But there are SARS who are joining from all over the world as well, in addition to all who came to D.C.
What jumps out at me right now, when you talk about your members, when you talk about how many who are here, what's your focus with them being here? In terms of what do you want them to gain and what them to do when they leave here?
Well, I would tell you, we come to our national conventions to take care of the business of Delta. You know, we focus on our guidelines, rules, regulations, and we focus on the resolutions that we want to make sure that we pass while we are here. And our resolutions are one of our many social action, social justice initiatives, and that we focus on specific issues that are of importance of our communities, issues that we want to make sure that are part of Delta's advocacy agenda. So that's a key part of what we do here, as well as to elect officers for the next biennium. But I will tell you, in the times in which we find ourselves, we have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of our founders, and we've had social action in our DNA since 1913, to be able to hear from great speakers who will galvanize us. We'll hear from Senator Cory Booker. You know, he's been letting his voice be heard really loudly, not only on the Senate floor, but everywhere he can. We have a record-breaking 9 Delta congresspersons, 1 senator, and 8 in the U.S. House of Representatives. We will be hearing from them with our calls to action so we can make sure that we continue to focus on our legislative agenda, economic justice, educational justice, focusing on making sure that we continue to fight for the rights that are being taken away from us every single day, not only on the federal level, but on the local level, on the state level, anywhere that government convenes, if you will, from school boards, where we want to fight for the freedom to learn, to make sure that our history is not erased, to city halls, city councils, state legislatures, where we are fighting for the rights to, again, make sure that we continue to have free and fair elections, to make sure that our communities, people in our communities and marginalized communities can have the right to vote. So there's a huge agenda, and we use this convention to also galvanize our members for our social action agenda, as well as our programmatic agenda, so we can go back in our communities in this nation and around the world and elevate the impact of Delta and do all important work of empowering our communities.
We were just talking about the cuts the Supreme Court is going to be allowing the layoffs of thousands or potentially hundreds of thousands of federal workers. Does Delta have a specific plan to help your members who may be impacted by this decision?
We have several things that we do. We have several programs focused on economic development. We have a career fair going on right now to help our sisters through any transition they happen to be going through, including the massive layoffs, to your point, from the government on the government level. But at the same time, we dig in very deeply with entrepreneurship, because we know that we have to take care of our own from the perspective of making sure that we can support entrepreneurs, making sure that they can grow their businesses, making sure that they can control their own destinies, and also making sure that we are pouring dollars back into our own communities. You know, with the Red Days where we buy Black, and making sure that that is a continued focus, not only on those days, but all the time. So those are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that we are supporting our sisters and also supporting our communities.
Question from my panel. Larry, you first.
Yes, Madam President, thank you for your hard work. So I should acknowledge I have several Deltas in my family, including my wife, Nicholas. So I have to say that. I wanted to talk about a full circle.
Larry, is she financial?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
That is a good question, Roland. I love it.
Don't start saying, give me a
Larry, you don't understand. Delta's hardcore. They would have checked her information as soon as the interview was over.
So, you talk about the women's suffrage movement and your involvement in that point in Washington, D.C., and now you're back in Washington, D.C., and I wonder if you could, particularly considering the political, the moment where we're dealing with politics, and when you reflect on, your founder's involvement in the suffrage movement and today, what are some of your thoughts leading into the convention the next couple of days?
I will have to tell you, whenever we come back to the birthplace of Delta Sigma Theta, it is a special moment. But I will tell you, it also feels different this time. Because when we think about the courage of our founders during a time that they fought for women's suffrage, even when they did not get the right to vote until the Voting Rights Act in 1965, if you think about it in widespread numbers. When we think about that, and when we think about the fact that we seem to be going backwards instead of forwards in this country, we want to make sure that we continue to do things to meet the moment, but doing things that are relevant for 2025. Whether it's peaceful protesting, all the way to making sure that we continue to focus, and we're doing it state by state now, since there's no national legislation on the table as we currently speak, to protect voting rights. So we've had lawsuits in Texas, and we were co-plaintiff along with LDF, and we prevailed in a couple of the provisions to make it easier and not harder to vote. We engaged in a lawsuit in Georgia around voting rights, one in the state of Mississippi, DeSoto County, around redistricting. So we're trying to make sure that we're fighting on every front, not just in the streets, but in the courts and everywhere we possibly can. So we want to continue to do what we can to meet the moment. We will galvanize our members here. We're coming together in many different areas, not just our meetings, but we'll be coming together right there on the campus of Howard University on Wednesday with our welcome event. And we'll use that as an opportunity not only to welcome SARS home, but to remind them of the rich legacy we have in social action, and to make sure that we are galvanizing for the moment and the days and the months ahead.
Mustafa?
Well, Madam President, thank you for 112 years, you and all the SOARs who have been doing amazing work. I know your priorities fairly well, since most folks in my family are Deltas. You have one that's focused on mental health, and we know right now in this moment, just the incredible weight that many folks in our communities are carrying. Can you talk a little bit about why that's one of the focuses that you all have?
Absolutely. And that was another meet the moment opportunity, but something that has long been very, very important to us, because one of our 5 programmatic thrusts is physical and mental health. But one of the key initiatives of my administration is the Live Well initiative, focusing on mental health, but very strongly focusing on mental wellness, on all aspects of mental wellness. And that is a multifaceted program that is so important. When I first came into office, it was during the pandemic. And we know that there were many that were struggling. We know that there were many on our college campuses, not only our members, but other students across our campuses. We know that there was isolation from our elderly and all throughout this country. And so making sure that we focused on the mental wellness and how to maintain that mental wellness and how to recognize mental health challenges and making sure that there are things in place, whether it's being able to find a mental health provider, whether it's focusing on programs on college campuses, whether it's our Wellness Wednesdays that we conduct month after month to focus on the various aspects of mental wellness, or our Live Well Summit that we just completed, where we focused on mind, body, and spirit. It is critical in a time like this. We started in a pandemic, but we're in another kind of pandemic right now when it comes to the challenges that we're having with, again, rights being taken away, racial injustices where we should have racial justices, the erasure of our history, and so many more issues that we are facing as a people. It is absolutely critical that we focus on our mental health during this period of time.
Tyler?
Yes, President Cook Holmes, this is so great to see you as always. I got to give a special shout out to my home chapter, Alpha Mu, at North Carolina A&T. As a
Yeah,
proud
the man.
member of Phi Beta Sigma, I know firsthand that our Divine Nine organizations are
That's
just
a
not
nice little
social.
youth
They are
group. That's a nice little youth group. But go on right ahead.
We got the blue fire.
and-
I got you. I got you.
That's right. That's right. So we know our organizations are not just they are strategic pillars in our community in civic leadership, education, and justice. As a president of a legacy organization with years of strong support in the community, what will your message be to the next generation of Deltas who are making their way to DC, which a bunch of my friends are already taking over the city?
Well, I will tell you that the message is that we have to always meet the moment and we always have to lead the way. It is up to us. If not us, then who? And so it's not enough to sit back. It's not enough to stroll, all the fun things we do. It's not enough to step and stroll. It's not enough to just focus on the things that are happening on specific campuses even, or in communities. But it must be broad across this country. The things that we do must be global, and we must stay in the fight. And I will tell you, in addition to that, one of the things that we share with our members, and I certainly talk about with my fellow presidents on a regular basis, that our collective power is unparalleled. We're almost 3 million strong if you look at the collective power of the D9. So in addition to us leading the way, I would tell you that the D9 should be leading the way. And we always say our hashtag is D9 Stronger Together, because if we know that if we continue to exercise our collective power, there's nothing that we can't do. Whether it's focusing on some collective buying to be able to own our own things like conference centers, own our own museums. There's so many things that we have the opportunity to do if we use our collective voices and our collective power. So that's the other message, that we want to lead the way, but we have to also do it together.
Absolutely. So look, I understand. I speak a whole lot, travel a lot. And when I felt my voice being lost when I was at Essence Fest, I always carry something with me. So President Cook Holmes, tell your staff, go to the store and buy you this, and you keep it with you. I keep it in my bag at all times. Tamala Mann and David Mann hooked me up and said, anytime you're losing your voice or you gotten ready to speak a lot, take this. It's an herbal spray. It will help you keep your voice.
I actually have some in my purse, but I don't think I have been using it enough today. But Roland, I thank you for that tip. I'm going to use it because I have a whole lot of talking I need to do tomorrow. Yep. So I need to figure this out quickly.
You ain't lying, because you on day.
I want you to tell my Sarah Jackie hello.
You on day 2.
I don't want to lose.
You on day 2. You can't be like that. Listen,
I'm on day 2.
No, you tell her hi.
This should be the end, not the beginning.
You tell her hi. I ain't seen her. I got back from Essence. She was already gone to the convention, so you tell her hi when you see her.
Well, I will look for her and tell her you said hello then.
All right, then, do that. Well, I appreciate it. I know she got me a couple of tickets to something, so I'll be popping through. So I'll see you.
We'll look forward to seeing you.
I'll see you at the convention center. And last question, how many hotels y'all fill up here?
I don't know of a hotel in the district where we don't have members. So I'll be honest with you, I think I lost count, after we got to 50 or 60 contracts. But I would tell you, there is not a place within the district, not just the downtown area, but as far north as, the hotels that are almost to Maryland. So
there you go.
We're all over, and we know that we have Sarah staying in Virginia and Maryland too.
All right, then, President Cook Holmes, we appreciate it. Good luck to a great week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a bunch, folks. We're going to go to a break. We come back, more on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your work is critical to what we do. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, do so right here. Go to use the Stripe QR code. And, of course, click the Cash App button to contribute. Checks in money order. Make it payable to, first of all, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, the enigma of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. What really makes him tick? And what forces shaped his view of the world, the country, and Black America? The answer, I'm pretty sure, will shock you.
And he says, people think that I'm anachronistic. I am. I want to go backwards in time in order to move us forward into the future. He's very upfront about this.
We'll talk to Corey Robin, the man who wrote the book that reveals it all. That's next on the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Lord, MAGA's losing their minds. They're alleging a massive conspiracy when it comes to Epstein. The guy who hung out with Donald Trump. Remember this photo right here? Donald Trump claimed he didn't know him. Well, we know that's a lie. And we know Jeffrey Epstein helped out a lot of Republicans. And remember, he cut a deal in Florida with prosecutors there, and Trump's labor secretary was the one who helped him out of that deal that they also wanted to keep secret. Remember, they allowed him to go to jail in the daytime and go home at night? It was really, it was a sweetheart deal. So a lot of people, especially Republicans, believe that it was a cover-up. And who are the names? Now remember, Pam Bondi, when she came as Attorney General, she was like, I have it on the list on my desk. But then now they claim, oh no, there's no list. And again, MAGA is losing its mind. So today, at the cabinet meeting, a reporter asked Trump about it, and I swear, he almost soiled the adult diaper he's wearing.
Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
But here's the thing. It's the right that's making a big deal out of this. They're the ones who are angry and upset and mad and yelling and screaming. Even Tucker Carlson went off on this whole deal and just said how, this could cause a massive, massive storm on the right. Here was an interview that he had with somebody on that issue.
Particularly not only deceived by the people like the FBI director and the deputy director, Dan Bongino, but the attorney general who went on camera after assuming her office on the White House lawn. These are supposed to mean things, and said thousands of victims. We have the client list. We have the flight logs. She held a little press conference, whatever event with so-called influencers in which she gave them the Epstein files, an infamous photo that was released. It turned out that that binder actually had redacted information in it, which was already public, just to demonstrate how they were turning they're turning the White House effectively into a performative show and making, light of the fact that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of underage victims.
MAGA big mad. Like, MAGA's really upset. And they are just going crazy on this issue. Now, that was him talking to Sagar and Jetty. And again, they're just, they are really, really upset. And he's that Dan Bongino lied to the people. Now, it's the same Dan Bongino who just beloved by the right, who left his media perch to go work for Trump. So, they are just big mad. Now, Trump and them are sitting here. You heard them say, that evil man. And Trump, people are still talking about Jeffrey Epstein. They're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, that despicable man. You mean this one? Who's that to the right of Trump? Jeffrey Epstein. Look quite chummy, huh? Boy, look at having a grand conversation. Chummy, 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 chummy. But they're like, that despicable man. That man, how dare he? Trump was kicking it with him. You had one woman who's actually suing Trump, saying she was raped. That's a fact, y'all. Don't get mad at everybody else. That's y'all boy. And the right is so upset. And matter of fact, look here. This is collage of photos of Donald Trump and who? His boy, Jeffrey Epstein. Ain't that interesting? I just think it's a trip, Larry, that MAGA is so mad. So Trump gets mad at the reporter for asking the question when it's the people that voted for him who are pissed off.
Yeah, this is Roland. This is a situation where you eat, people eat their own. They constantly, for the last several years, they have fed all these conspiracy theories. And you talked about just a few weeks ago, we had that, the infamous photo op in front of the White House with the Epstein binders. It was circulated on news, talked about for days. And the DOJ Attorney General says she had some information that she phrased it a little bit differently than she did from that interview. But they fed this conspiracy theory, and people are waiting for the payoff based on what we've heard for the last several years. And now they're backtracking. So all that does is feed more conspiracy theories.
While Larry's talking, hold on, Larry. While Larry's talking, go to my iPad. Larry, remember this. They held up these binders. The Epstein FBI files. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and, they talked about having these social media influencers who then went on their podcasts and once again, this went on and talked about how this information was coming out. And so once again, people who, into these conspiracy theories or, follow these kind of things are looking for a payoff. And it never came. And those same folks are now going to turn on the administration because now they think there's up to something. So there's a conspiracy inside the conspiracy. So it's going to be really interesting over the next several weeks, couple months to see what this does in terms of public opinion for those who are right wingers who follow this kind of issue. But bottom line is, Roland, they fed the beast, and the beast expected to be fed. And it's like being at the zoo and throwing red meat at a tiger. And, you didn't throw the tiger any food this time. And now those folks have turned on the administration.
Tyler Midas Touch published this. The tweet was, here are 14 phone numbers associated with Donald Trump from Jeffrey Epstein's little black book. I mean, I guess that's why he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's a double standard in how powerful men like Donald Trump are treated when it comes to associating with predators like Jeffrey Epstein, despite, as we just saw, years of photos, videos, and testimony and public connections to him. Trump has never faced full accountability. And I think the real question for his ties to Epstein, is dangerous. And I think the silence of his administration and his silence sends a chilling message that if you're rich, if you're well connected, and if you're white, you get to walk away free while survivors carry the weight. As you said before, even the survivor who came out, or as we look at how Trump has talked about treating women, and I think he has not faced full accountability, and I think it just sends a chilling message that many of us have already known to be true.
This is Brian Shapiro. Was on Piers Morgan's show, and of course, all of these little Trump defenders who always complain. Mustafa, listen to what Shapiro lit them up on, and he's absolutely right.
When Haba did your show, where did she get that information from? Where did that come from back in February? I would also say to Pam Bondi, she lied on Fox News, or maybe she was telling the truth. She said she had a list that was on her desk, Piers. Where did that list go? Was she lying? Was that made up? And I'd also say thirdly, and I know this is something that Jack probably doesn't want to bring up, but the fact of the matter is that Jeffrey Epstein's on audio saying at one point Donald Trump was his best friend. We also know that Donald Trump was on the Epstein flight log 7 times. We learned that in the Maxwell case. So I don't think it's a stretch to say maybe Donald Trump might be somewhere in these files. Maybe. We don't know that for sure, but I know if it was the other way around, and if it was Joe Biden that was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein at one point, that's all Jack and MAGA Republicans would be talking about. I think Donald Trump is on this list, and I think Donald Trump is in these files, and I think the Trump administration is...
Here we go.
...is hiding something.
That is all right.
When Haba did your show, where did
here's the thing that cracks me up, Mustafa. Trump, you asked that question. This feels like desecration. Oh. So now all of a sudden, you want to talk about the more than 100 people killed in the floods in Texas, and the fact that 161 people are still missing. So now you want us to focus on that. So you don't want to answer any questions about that. Maybe that's Mustafa, because when the flood was happening, look who was golfing. 3 days ago, he's on his way to play golf. But now you don't want us asking about these things because because of great things happening and the flood in Texas. No, it's called the First Amendment. We can ask any damn thing we want. And at some point, I wish one of these reporters would actually say, hey man, we can ask what the hell we want, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And, the fact that we can multitask, we can take in multiple types of information and be able to analyze it and make some decisions for ourselves, is interesting. We know that Trump hung out with Epstein, that Trump partied with Epstein, as the gentleman said. His name also appeared 7 times on the flight logs. We know that Epstein was
17 times. 17 times on the flight log.
17 times. Okay. I've read 7 times before, so thank you for the correction. And then also, we know that, based upon the way that we're looking at sex trafficking now, that Epstein was also moving folks over to the island and all kinds of different things. So, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, we all know how the saying goes. So, of course, no one wants to have that attention on them when they're associated with someone who's done those types of things. But he had a history of not just one time being seen with this individual, but multiple times. And, no matter who else it might have been, if you found yourself in that situation, if people had all this documentation, both video and photos, then they're going to ask questions about, were you also participating in those types of nefarious behaviors that Epstein was convicted on? Not, that people just, said maybe this is something that he's done, but he was actually convicted. In relationship to the list, that was the red meat that everyone kept talking about. And we're really interested in whose name's on the list. I can't tell you how many times, people would make, guesses about who might be on there. And of course, Trump's name came up along with a number of other folks. So you can't get upset if you are going to, affiliate with individuals who do those types of behaviors, criminal behaviors.
And if you're going to sit here and trash Hillary Clinton or Obama or Biden or Harris, then you got to own it. Now, I heard Shapiro say 17. The one lawyer said Trump said it was 7 times on the flight log, so I'm going to double check that. But I do want to read this quote. This is from a New York Magazine story. Trump, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." That was Donald Trump on Jeffrey Epstein. So I see why he doesn't want questions being asked about Jeffrey Epstein in the White House. All right, y'all, going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together?
The last thing you want is, in the midst of trying to piece your life back together, for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, the Georgia chapter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans is suing a state park over its plan to create an exhibit addressing slavery, segregation, and white supremacy. The lawsuit focuses on racist Stone Mountain, which features a monument depicting racist Confederate President Jefferson Davis, white domestic terrorist General Robert E. Lee, as well as white domestic terrorist racist Thomas Stonewall Jackson, all on a horseback. The monument was carved in 1915. In 2021, the Stone Mountain Memorial Association voted to relocate the Confederate flags at the monument and to build a, quote, truth-telling exhibit. This exhibit aims to inform visitors about the site's role in the revival of the Ku Klux Klan and its segregationist roots. It will also discuss how Confederate groups, including the Sons of Confederate Veterans, promoted the racist lost cause ideology, which portrays slavery as a positive institution. The Sons of Confederate Veterans argue that relocating the Confederate flags violates Georgia law and that altering the monuments to fit the present political climate is illegal. They believe these charged changes are an attack on their history and show disrespect for Confederate soldiers. Okay, first of all, last I checked, they're not altering the monument, even though yours truly believes blow that shit up. But to say that you have a visitor area, telling the truth, Mustafa, I don't know what the problem is, because that's not altering the monument. It's actually showing, as Paul Harvey would say, now the rest of the story.
Yeah, and that's the point right there. You know, there's fear in truth, especially for those who know they're coming from a dark place. They're coming from a place of misinformation and disinformation. And we need to be able to set the record straight. And people have a problem with that because they want to create their own narrative, even when it is a false narrative. So, you know, I hope that folks continue to move forward on making sure that everybody who visits has a real understanding of, you know, all the trauma that was a part of slavery and the truth about what it really was. Because if you don't do that, then people will, you know, continue to paint it in a picture that is not what our people actually experienced.
Cannot stand, Larry, truth. What they still want is white his story and not truthful history.
Yeah, Roland, we need to make it real clear about, you know, when I think about my enslaved ancestors, what they had to endure, the trauma, the rape, etc. No, we need to tell the truth. I mean, isn't that what the country's all about today? We're about truth telling, right? So you have to. This country struggles with its history, and you know, I always tell people I'm first generation post Jim Crow. These when we used to have these conversations, it's not that long ago in terms of we can have conversations with individuals who were enslaved Africans. And so, yeah, the atrocities that these organizations in the Confederacy committed against enslaved Africans needs to be made clear. Their history, why they chose what they did, the years after that, in terms of, like we talked about, the KKK and these other organizations that traumatized Black communities for decades. They all need to be called on the carpet for what they did. And if you're an active member of the organization, you need to face what your ancestors did, and the fact that also that you're still involved in this organization that once again upholds what the Confederacy did is some kind of shining example when they once again traumatized Black people for decades. So no, we needed something that was completely honest, and we needed a nice big poster or something right next to all those figures.
Tyler, it's real simple for me. These folks despise the fact that we actually got an opportunity to read. They despise the fact that we now are in positions of power, and they despise the fact that racist white men no longer control everything. And so they're going to have to suck it up, and I think they're going to lose this lawsuit because they're lying. The monument is not being changed. Having a visitor center right next to it, nothing wrong with that, so bring it.
Absolutely. I saw a quote this week that said, offended by everything, ashamed of nothing, entitled to everything, but contributing to nothing. And I think when I think about, these symbols, they aren't just mere history. They're ongoing living patriarchy, racism, and omission, especially in states like Georgia. And I think the lawsuit is more than just like a legal maneuvering that they're trying to get around, but it's a fight over memory. It's a fight over power and those whose stories get to be told and honored. And this monument is a living insult that legitimizes white supremacy. And I think real equity demands that removing these public, honors for oppression and oppressors, and telling the full, and as we said, the full and honest truth. We must, stand up to it and and be present in this moment to ensure that they're trying to erase our history, but we must be stand firm in how our history is being told.
All right, folks, let's talk about something else these idiots are doing and the impact it's going to have on a lot of Black people. Donald Trump and his people are unveiling plans for a major overhaul of student loans. And so what they're trying to, first of all, they're trying to shift which department. This deals with the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. It was established 18 years ago. The PSLF allows government employees, such as teachers, firefighters, and nonprofit workers, to have their student loans forgiven after 10 years of qualifying payments. Education Department could strip the benefit from organizations involved in, quote, illegal activities. Mandela Deskins, Director of Advocacy for Engagement at Ed Trust, joins us right now. So first and foremost, explain us, what the hell does that even mean, illegal activities?
Thanks for having me this evening. I think before we talk about the specifics, I just want to kind of lay the groundwork so that we can really understand what we're seeing here. The Republicans in Congress in service of the MAGA agenda are making it clear. They don't want Black and brown students going to college. This is about making the rich richer by attempting to smother the aspirations of students of color across this country. And by passing this bill and by putting these restrictions and eliminations and changing to the rules and repayment plans, this is an attempt to make it so that Black and brown students cannot go to school at all. So I just want to start there. You know, the idea is to keep us from being able to go to school or put us in, you know, a level of debt that we can never get out of for the privilege of attempting to access the American dream.
So walk us through this in terms of what do we know so far about these changes?
Sure. So, you know, the changes really affect two sides, the loan side and the repayment side. On the loan side, they eliminated federal loans that help graduate students pay for school and added borrowing limits to Parent Plus loans. Parent Plus loans are loans that Black and brown families disproportionately use. So this will force families to either go to banks and take higher interest loans that will create more debt for the family, or make decisions on whether these students can go to college at all. On the repayment side, they've changed income-based student repayment loan plans, making them more expensive and adding longer timeframes. And this was part of the way they were going to pay for their tax cut to billionaires, right? By making it more expensive for students who are giving their lives to public service to be able to repay the loans that help them achieve that ability. And if I could just pause you for a quick second, I want to make this real for folks in a way that we can understand. You know, I attended college, Florida A&M University, as a first-generation low-income student, and I graduated with over $50,000 in debt. Now, when you look at why I was low income, you might want to look at my grandmother being a sharecropper or my mother picking cotton as a kid on that same plantation. But alas, you see me, I was able to make it to college. By the time I was able to start repaying my loan, I struggled to find employment, as many students do. And as a first-generation student, I didn't have a lot of family help to help me move forward. So by the time I was able to start repaying my loan had ballooned to over $80,000. By the time I was able to get on an income-based repayment plan, it went over to $100,000. Now, I'm here to say that public service loan forgiveness helped me. It helped me get out of a debt that would have saddled me for the rest of my life, a debt that I had because I spent my entire career fighting for people who look like me, who came from the circumstances that I came from, so that people could have the ability to achieve what we call this American dream. This is what these changes did. They are taking that ability away from further generations of students who are coming from backgrounds like me, trying to give their life.
All right, looks like our guest is frozen, so we're going to try to reconnect with him. So let's see here. I see it spinning. Mandela, you still there?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you actually froze there, but go ahead, keep going.
Oh, I don't know where I froze, man. I was just getting into it.
Well, again, we were talking about in terms of how this thing is being put together and who is going to affect. First of all, you know, when do these changes start? I mean, is it right now, what must folks do to prepare themselves?
Yeah, for sure. So the changes start right now. Folks are already seeing their repayment plans change. They're already seeing a raise in the amount of money that they have to pay. They're already seeing hits to their credit scores. And then as far for the repayment side and for the loans, this is for any future borrowers. So these are for students whose kids have did everything they were supposed to do and were able to get into college for this fall in 2025. They're going to have to deal with the consequences of this and the limitations on how much money they can borrow. And it will also affect the students who have already graduated, who are starting to repay their loans. Now they're going to have to give more and more of their income to be able to keep this from hitting their credit or defaulting or hurting them financially as they sit under this debt burden.
Questions from the panel. Tyler, you first.
Yeah, absolutely. As we know, I say education is a right, not a privilege, and no one should have to choose between groceries and a loan repayment just for wanting to learn. My question for you would be, what does this pause in payment tracking mean for borrowers who have already dedicated years towards forgiveness from a lot of these, like firefighters, teachers, and police officers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as what we often see with this current administration, there's a lot that is opaque, things we don't quite know yet, but we know that they will probably not be legal. But that hasn't stopped anything before. What we know right now is that people are now unable to check their payment status, where you used to be able to see how close you were to public service loan forgiveness. We know that some portions of public service loan forgiveness have went away. The true fallout, what we will see in total from this, we don't know yet. But what we do know is all of those folks, whether you talk about teachers, whether you talk about civil rights activists, whether you talk about folks who work in the public sector, all of those folks should be very concerned. And there are some actions that we think that folks can take, but I want to pause because we didn't get to that yet.
Larry?
Yeah, thank you for all your work at Air Trust, and I want to give a shout out to your CEO, my friend Denise Fort, while we're having a conversation.
Yes, sir.
And so let's talk a little bit about what happens if you're not able to pay these loans, because I think the Wall Street Journal reported that some people who are actually retired are actually having wages garnished. Can you talk a little bit about that, because this is disproportionately going to impact Black folks also?
Oh, absolutely. So we are seeing wage garnishment actually happen. We are seeing folks take major hits on their credit for being delinquent in their loans. And I think that it's been widely reported that there are many people who are struggling to pay these loans already, and we expect that that's going to get worse. And so, in doing this, it's not just creating more expensive repayment plans that will saddle folks with a debt burden, but they are also garnishing wages on the other end. So it's leaving you with really a very limited set of options for what you do if you're not able to afford these loans, which many students are not. As we may remember, the administration's policies have caused many workers to be laid off, many workers to lose their job, whether in the federal government or in related parts of different departments. So when you think about folks who are contractors for education services, when you think about folks who work for a variety of companies and entities that support the public needs, those folks are getting laid off because those loans are being illegally held, those grants are being illegally held by the administration. So right now, folks are really caught between really a rock and a hard place. You have to pay it. It's more expensive. But at the same time, if you can't, then your loans can be garnished. Your wages can be garnished. Sorry.
Mustafa.
Yeah, well, thank you for what you and your organization does. Can you walk folks through? So, there's a huge amount of money that's tied up in this. Now people are paying more money. We know there's a push to privatize education. So can you talk a little bit about where do the dollars go now? Does it go to Treasury? Does it go, I know it doesn't go to the Department of Education, but I'm just going to say, does it go to the Department of Education? Where do these additional dollars go?
Well, these changes were passed as a part of this boo-boo bill, bad bill, big bad terrible bill, whatever we want to call it. And the reason why these things were put into place, outside of making sure that Black and brown students don't have access to higher education or to college, which of course is the number one goal. The reason why they were added to this particular bill was in order to pay for tax cuts and tax breaks to billionaires that the administration wanted to make sure they got through. So as far as like how these dollars move through the system, again, some of these things are opaque. The key thing to know is the reason why these additional dollars are being collected is to cover the cost of tax breaks for rich people. At Ed Trust, we like to call this bill the Great Heist. And that's what that's about. It's taking these folks' dreams and aspirations to be able to create a better life for themselves and their families through college and through the careers that come from that, and taking the debt that folks took on in order to do that, and taking that and raising that debt and charging folks more in order to pay for tax cuts to rich people, which really shouldn't surprise us, because remember, this is the same Trump administration. You remember Trump, he created a fake university in order to defraud students who were trying to get a better life out of their funds in the first place. So this idea of stealing from people who are looking for a better life in order to pay billionaires, millionaires, and billionaires is not a new idea for Donald Trump, and it's not a new idea for what we've seen from his policies.
Well, for all the people who chose to sit the election out, well, they now have to contend with this because we tried to tell them. We told what was going to go down. And then there was a whole lot of people who were yelling and screaming, why hasn't Joe Biden gotten rid of student loan debt? No, maybe you should have sat your ass out of the 2016 election, and then Trump would not have appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. Just saying. Angela, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks. Quick break. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You support this show. You support all of the other shows on the network. You want to contribute via Cash App. Here is the QR code for Stripe. Use this QR code. You can also use it for credit card payments as well. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. You got to check a money order and send that to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, the enigma of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. What really makes him tick, and what forces shaped his view of the world, the country, and Black America? The answer, I'm pretty sure, will shock you.
And he says, people think that I'm anachronistic. I am. I want to go backwards in time in order to move us forward into the future. He's very upfront about this.
We'll talk to Corey Robin, the man who wrote the book that reveals it all. That's next on the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together.
You know, the last thing you want is in the midst of trying to piece your life back together for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Protests have erupted across Kenya with tensions boiling over in the capital city of Nairobi. 11 people have been killed, more than 560 arrested during widespread anti-government demonstrations, according to police. Fueled by anger over corruption, police brutality, and a soaring cost of living, protests broke out Monday in 17 counties. The unrest coincided with Saba Saba, the July 7th, a day that commemorates Kenya's fight for democracy. But instead of celebration, the streets were filled with bonfires, tear gas, and a new generation demanding change. Protesters are calling on President William Ruto to resign, accusing his administration of failing to address the people's needs and deepening economic hardship. Now, while that is happening, we are seeing significant unrest in Haiti as well. In Haiti, a very prominent hotel was burned down by gangs in the continuing problems that we see in that particular country, which is quite unfortunate. It's the Hotel Olofsen, which was, of course, a Gothic 19th century mansion that was gutted. Now, this is what it used to look like right here, and this is what then happened when it went up in smoke. This is an aerial view of what it looks like now. They continue to see massive unrest there in Haiti as police, a multinational force, try to keep the peace in that particular city. But the reality is we continue to see gangs dominate and control so much of what happens there. Now, there are some folk who have a different view of the hotel, saying it was a haven for NGOs as well as spies. Well, at the end of the day, that hotel has been burned down, and we don't see any substantive things happening from this country to help the folks there in that country as well. And so this right here, it said before it became a hotel, all of a sudden it was home to the Sam family until 1915. This is an image right here. And of course, and also it was built by the son of Haiti's president as well. And so it was converted to a hotel by the Swedish Gustav Olofsson and gave it its name. And so you see right here the information on it. And then, of course, this is what it looked like as well. So we hate to see the continued unrest there in Haiti. Let's talk about deportations. Haiti is one of the countries that Donald Trump has been targeting, along with other African nations. And guess what? Well, the Trump folks have made it clear to any of these undocumented workers on farms, you ain't getting amnesty. Also, they're attacking folks who they call able-bodied Americans on Medicaid, in fact saying that they may force them to take jobs filled by undocumented farm workers. Listen to the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, saying that 34 million able-bodied people on Medicaid could serve as potential labor force for farms.
There's been a lot of noise in the last few days and a lot of questions about where the president stands in his vision for farm labor. The first thing I'll say is the president has been unequivocal that there will be no amnesty, and I think that's very, very important. I and the rest of our cabinet certainly support that, effectuate that, and make sure that happens every single day. The second thing, to your question about mass deportations, the president and I have spoken about that once or twice, and he has always been of the mindset that at the end of the day, the promise to America to ensure that we have a 100% American workforce stands, but we must be strategic in how we are implementing the mass deportation so as not to compromise our food supply. Ultimately, the answer on this is automation, also some reform within the current governing structure, and then also when you think about there are 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program. There are plenty of workers in America, but we just have to make sure we're not compromising today as especially in the context of everything we're thinking about right now. So no amnesty under any circumstances. Mass deportations continue, but in a strategic and intentional way as we move our workforce toward more automation and toward a 100% American workforce.
Really? This initiative is part of Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, which introduces the first ever federal work requirements for Medicaid recipients. I really can't wait to see, Larry, a lot of these white folks being sent to farms.
Yeah, so the reason why you have migrant workers, among others, obviously making a serious contribution to our economy, is that Americans don't want these jobs, Roland. And that's just the bottom line. This is hard work. And so what you hear the secretary describing is like is servitude. And let's be clear about what we're hearing here. The other thing is really interesting about this comments about those individuals who are on Medicaid is that they're talking about a lot of their voters. And I don't think when a lot of this language is used, the way they switch it up, I don't think when they talk about people being at home and lazy, et cetera, they're talking about a lot of their voters in red states. And I think those folks only hear immigrants and other people, but then they're talking about you and they're taking your Medicaid. And the other thing is, as it relates to this overall conversation, is it also talks about how they value other people's humanity. The majority of people, a significant individuals, a percentage of Americans work at jobs, but they don't even qualify for things like healthcare. So this is really more of an issue in terms of the economic healthcare structure, in terms of individuals not only making a living wage, but also providing with comprehensive healthcare. But we're not going to have that conversation because then that will force people to critique local, state, and federal government. So what you hear from the secretary, once again, is essentially describing some kind of servitude for Americans. And secondly, once again, Americans are not taking those jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's so you see, I saw this video here, 100 undocumented workers at Glen Valley Foods in Nebraska and got arrested. And so now the right is saying, oh, my goodness, it was packed. People were filling out forms for those jobs. Yeah, that's working at a plant. I'm telling you right now, Mustafa, these white folks ain't going to be in that heat picking no damn fields.
Right. Most Americans, I've worked on farm worker issues of beginning in the early part of my career. So I know, I've seen personally how hard that work is. And it's interesting because when we talk about the folks who are on Medicaid, we're talking about people who are poor and sick and elderly and disabled and folks who are just trying to make it. I thought that they actually were going to go after the prison population. We're going to try and get them to do a lot of this work. But the reality of the situation is, you got a whole lot of people across this country, are dealing with opioid addiction and dealing with fentanyl, dealing with all these different types of things that, has already lowered their immune system, made them weaker. So you're going to put them out there in the fields when it's 100+ degrees, sometimes 110 degrees, working 12 hours, sometimes making, just literally pennies on the dollar. Americans are just not going to do that. I mean, there's just no way that you're going to be able to make that become a reality. And so when you make these they're not snap decisions. When these folks make these sort of decisions that have these huge ramifications, they're not fully thinking it through. They're assuming that people, as Larry said, are going to be okay with being indentured servants. But that's just not the case. Whether you're talking about folks in Appalachia, you're talking about folks that are in the Rust Belt, you're talking about folks that are down in the Black Belt, it's just not a reality. And of course, it is a whole lot of their folks. So they voted for this without probably having the full understanding that you are also sacrificable, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're finding people who they feel that they have no value, and they're going to try and push them into these very difficult jobs. And there's a reason why, folks demonize folks who are immigrants to our country. But the reality is that they're helping to hold up this economy. And now you are completely destabilizing it. And now they're going to be looking for the next set of scapegoats to push this capitalistic set of actions forward.
Well, these right folks are not upset. So check this out. I'm going to read it first. This is from the American Business Immigration Coalition. I said I'm gonna read it first. Come to me before I play it. No. I'm gonna play it. Hold on. I'm gonna read it first. Immigrants are critical to the farming industry, said Rebecca Shee, CEO of the American Business Immigration Coalition. Wait until y'all hear these numbers that she lays out in the video. And I'm telling you, Tyler, these white folks are not gonna be on farms. They are not gonna be in the heat 12, 14 hours a day. I'm telling you. So listen to this. This is from February of this year.
The Trump administration's push for mass deportations has major cities like Chicago on high alert. But some residents in rural areas are also expressing concern, specifically farmers who are worried about losing their workforce. The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that 42% of farm workers are undocumented immigrants. Joining us now with more on the potential impact are Rebecca Shee, Chief Executive Officer at the American Business Immigration Coalition. And joining us via Zoom is Stephen Dorloff, a professor in educational policy at the University of Chicago and the director of Stone Center for Research on Wealth Inequality and Mobility. Thank you both for joining us. Rebecca, I want to start with you. How important is the immigrant workforce to the farming industry?
Thank you so much for having me. Immigrants are critical to the farming industry. Agriculture is a $3 trillion industry, and 72% of the ag workforce are immigrants.
What do you say to those people who have, many different opinions on what's going on with immigration and who should be, who is illegal and who's not, especially when it comes to, such big workforce like farming?
Right. Well, we appreciate having eggs on our shows. I mean, I'm having a hard time finding eggs right now. I'm sure a lot of viewers are as well. We appreciate having avocados and milk. And if you were to just remove a significant part of our farm workforce, we're going to start seeing $20 lettuces, $16 cartons of eggs, or no milk, because nearly all of the dairy farmers and farm workers here in our nation, including in Illinois and the Midwest, are immigrants.
Also gonna need that extended warranty.
These people crying and whining, Tyler, and they voted for Trump.
Absolutely, and I think this is just a sign of when you do not vote your interest in how it plays the game. You now become on the menu, per se. And I agree even more with my fellow panelists that this is nothing short of modern day indentured servitude, and it's cruel. And I think it also mirrors a part in American history from sharecropping to chain gangs, and this is just a mirror of that. And I think it's clear you cannot pick your way out of poverty, and people deserve health care without being treated like their state-owned labor. And as you said, if they're going to tell people to get out there in them fields, I can already hear the Michael Jackson meme. They were like, get somebody else to do it.
I'm just saying, it's going to be a lot of people just sitting here, just whining and complaining, and I'm just going to sit here and watch it all happen and watch them sing, cry, because again, they thought they were talking about some other people. Mm-hmm. They thought they were referring to some other people, but they are about to learn real quick. No, it was y'all. It was y'all they were talking about. And that's what I'm gonna enjoy the most, Mustafa, because all these people, that's why we had a shirt, pull the graphic up, FAFO 2025. And we got project crossed out. That's for y'all, because they about to learn. See, when they talk about 34 million, a lot of white folk in America go, that's them black folks. Mm-hmm. That's them black folks. We played on the show Tommy Tuberville, talking about them inner city rats, taking federal aid. We got to sit here and do something about them inner city rats. And see, they do that, and they love thinking it's somebody else. But then they look up and realize, no, they talking about you. And see, all these folks in these red areas, they love talking about, and they think it's everybody else. See, these broke white people, and let me be real clear, I'm using the phrases for a reason. These broke, illiterate, sick white people in red states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Arkansas, West Virginia, parts of Virginia. All these folk, they love thinking it's somebody else. It's them people. It's those people. It's them people. That it's not us. We the good people. We the nice people. They not talking about us. They not gonna take our health care. They not gonna take money from us. No, they talking about you. This is Tommy Tuberville talking to the man who took a bunch of money from the Russians, Benny Johnson. Again, he talking about inner city, but he talking about white folks in Alabama. Listen.
Yeah, I've spoken several times with Tom Homan, who is basically running the inner city ICE programs. And, he told me, he said he's been pushed at every corner when he goes to these big cities. I'm sure if you get a mayor like this that takes over, it'll even be worse. And that's when you can stop the federal funding. You can do anything. President Trump can do anything he wants when it comes to the federal. Again, these inner city rats, they live off the federal government. And that's one reason we're $37 trillion in debt. And it's time that we find these rats and we send them back home that are living off the American taxpayers that are working very hard every week to pay taxes.
Even though his state is the sixth largest in the country that gets federal dollars. I guess he's talking about rural rats too, like in Alabama.
Yeah, if that's the criteria that he's going to operate from, that's just the reality of the situation. I've worked with a lot of communities, over 1,000 communities in our countries, and a number of those have been lower wealth white communities. And when I come back to Washington D.C. and hear how some of these folks talk about poor white folks, they don't see them as human, right? They see them as less than. And I wish that, our lower wealth white brothers and sisters understood, that these folks do not value them and that they should be operating, in partnership with all the other vulnerable communities and individuals who are out there so that you could actually make real change happen, because these folks just use you. That's the reality. I know it personally. I grew up in Appalachia. I've seen the disinvestment in so many different types of communities, of course, Black communities and brown communities, but also in lower wealth white communities. And so when you see people like Tuberville or all these other individuals, who are making salaries that, folks who are out there just trying to survive would love to have, that's the dynamic that's playing out. So I'm gonna give everybody a quick stock tip as well, Roland, as I pass it back to you. If you want to make a whole lot of money right now, then go out and invest in sunblock. And I guarantee you, for all those folks who are going to have to be out there in the fields, you're going to make some money.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Gotta go to break. We come back. Our ShopBlackStarNetwork.com marketplace segment. We'll talk about, that's right, Black-owned tissue company. Yeah, seriously. Back in a moment.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, less than 5% of the top executive positions in corporate America are held by women of color. We know it's not because of talent. A recent study says that it's microaggressions, unconscious bias, and limited opportunities being offered to women of color. On our next show, we're going to get incredible advice from Francine Parham, who's recently written a book sharing exactly what you need to do to make it up into the management ranks and get the earnings that you deserve.
I made a point to sit down and I made a point to talk to people. And I made a point to be very purposeful and thought-provoking when I spoke to them.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
Mass incarceration, Trump administration is doubling down on criminalization, and how it is profitable.
And there's something really, really perverse about saying that we need to put people in cages in order for other people to have jobs. Like, that is not how our economy should be built.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, the enigma of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. What really makes him tick, and what forces shaped his view of the world, the country, and Black America? The answer, I'm pretty sure, will shock you.
And he says, people think that I'm anachronistic. I am. I want to go backwards in time in order to move us forward into the future. He's very upfront about this.
We'll talk to Corey Robin, the man who wrote the book that reveals it all. That's next on the Black Table, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
All right, folks, it's time for our segment, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Now, we talk about going green, but what about when it comes to the bathroom? All right, we're spotlighting Leafy, the eco-friendly brand that's reinventing everyday essentials. And so they've got bamboo toilet paper. They've got tissue paper as well. Joining us right now, co-founders Marvin Green, Charles Peaks. Glad to have both of y'all here. So, all right, so how'd y'all decide to say we're going to do eco-friendly toilet paper and tissue?
Well, funny story. Going all the way back to 2020, I was in a accelerator program for a previous business, tech business that I was funded for. Long story short, COVID hit, kind of shut everything down. But in the middle of that, what it did was sit me down or allowed me to sit still and witness the civil unrest that was breaking out everywhere. COVID, which basically put everyone in their homes. And then, the staple after all of that is people going out, losing their minds over toilet paper, fighting for toilet paper. So, I kind of put all of those things together because I'm also seeing a lot of us running out and going and grabbing toilet paper. So, thought about it. I had a dream. All of this came to me in a dream, actually. I hit up my partner, Chuck, and said, hey, man, we need to come out with our own brand, toilet paper, and add a social enterprise piece to it and kind of, add a mission that elevated and educated people on the benefits of bamboo. And, the rest was history.
So you sitting there laying down and you dreaming about toilet paper?
Hey, it sounds crazy. It was a few different factors. I don't know if I ate something and I just jumped up like, whoa, wait a minute. Why am I thinking about toilet paper?
Or if you ate something and you went to the bathroom and ran out.
Yeah, but listen, man, it hit me. It was one of them things, though, that once it hit me, I just grabbed my phone, started taking notes, called Chuck. And we brainstorm ideas back and forth. We're serial entrepreneurs. So it was nothing new to us to, bounce different ideas back and forth. And once we put our heads down and really started to brand it out, put it together, and go with the actual raw materials that we wanted to go with, we put it out here with everybody. So that's what you see.
Okay, so first of all, this is an individual package,
yes.
And this is this right here is the 6-pack.
Yes,
right?
sir. Mm-hmm.
So explain to me why the individual. Okay, so explain the black wrapping or the gray. Is there a reason behind it, or just because?
So the individual roll is 2-ply roll. Those individually wrapped mainly we have for businesses and also for residents.
So this one here. This is 2-ply.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and
That's
so
2-ply.
difference between 2-ply and 1-ply.
No, well, the 2-ply is it's a lot thicker. I mean, your fingers ain't gonna break through it. That's what you don't want.
That's a good point.
That's 100%. And then the 6-pack we have, that's 3-ply.
That's the premium.
That's the premium right there.
This here's 3-ply?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you got on the back, why choose bamboo? It says lint-free and no tree. What does that mean?
It means no lint. You know, when you go and guys, we're not really trying to examine the toilet paper. We just
hey man, listen, we trying to sell some damn toilet paper. So you need to explain why to buy you and not Charmin.
Listen, so lint-free though, like traditional toilet paper, you know, it's gonna leave lint. It's gonna leave, you know, those dingleberries, but it's gonna leave all that.
Man, look, hold up, dog. You can't be trying to sell toilet paper and you scared to talk about toilet paper.
Listen, it's not gonna leave no lint. It's just, you know, all natural, no lint behind, none of that. So, and another thing we also like to push is the educational piece behind it. We chose bamboo because as we started doing our own R&D, we realized traditional toilet paper was poisonous. I mean, there's a lot of forever chemicals that we're using. We're using formaldehyde, bleaches, chlorine, and we're putting it on the most sensitive areas of our body. And once you dig into that a little bit deeper, you realize that those are, you know, colon cancers, kidney cancers, things like that are on an uptick. Yeah, or on an uptick. I'm not saying it's because of the toilet paper that you're using, but it can't, you know, the traditional toilet paper can't help you or can't be something that's you know, helping you as far as health. So when we went the bamboo route, we wanted to not only just sell toilet paper, not only to add sustainability, we also wanted to add that health cost savings to your life as well, because down the line, you eventually are going to have medical bills, also septic system pieces to it. You know, people down the line, you're going to have to replace your septic system. It's biodegradable. So there's a lot of many different benefits when it comes to bamboo opposed to the traditional toilet paper, and why we chose to go, you know, the opposite route.
In fact, I came across a video the other day, and I'm trying to find it. I was on, I don't know if it was Instagram, I don't know if it was on Twitter as well, and it was a video of a guy, and he was talking about the forever chemicals that are in toilet paper, and he was talking about that. He was talking about that. Look, you are applying this to a part of your body where it gets into your body quite quickly. And it was the first time I actually had seen a video on that very thing.
Mm-hmm. Go straight to your bloodstream, you know, most sensitive areas. So, yeah. It's crazy when you start to really think about that.
All right, so we done covered the lint-free and no tree. We covered the biodegradable part, the no chemicals part, the 100% bamboo, and the high-quality 3-ply. Okay, so explain the more oxygen part.
More oxygen, bamboo, more oxygen.
Hold up. You gotta let your partner talk.
Oh, my fault. My bad. Go ahead.
I don't want his family like, damn, he ain't get to say nothing.
Go ahead.
So bamboo actually produces more oxygen than the actual tree. It's a natural antibiotic. So it fights off a lot more diseases than the actual tree would. So, I mean, those are the things that we bring to the table outside of just having trees and chopping and messing up the ecosystem. We're saving a lot of trees, and we just don't want to mess up the ecosystem with just chopping down every tree that we have here in America. So we chose to switch it over to bamboo.
All right, so, okay, I'm gonna let my panel ask a question. They might ask what I'm about to ask, but I'll wait. So let me go to them. And so, Tyler, you're first.
Yeah, let me just say I learned so much about toilet paper. I'm about to when I go in the bathroom, my own toilet paper. I first want to say thank you for your vision and showing how entrepreneurship can drive both environmental sustainability and community uplift. I think you all are challenging the myth that social impact and business success are exclusive for one another, especially during this time when corporations are leaning away from those priorities. My question for you would be, what advice would you have for other young entrepreneurs from underserved communities who are looking to break into this green industry in this space?
I would definitely, out the gate, I would just think completely out the box. I mean, me and Mark, we didn't grow up thinking that we would own a toilet paper company. That just wasn't an option or occupation to even pick up. So whatever you do think of, or you have just a weird inkling of, try it. I mean, that's the number one thing I would definitely do is try it. And you never know, it may work, but you don't know until you give it a shot. So just quit. I mean, traditional businesses and traditional jobs and careers and things like that, as we know, I mean, America's changing, the world is changing. You can make millions of dollars from sitting in front of a computer screen right now. So you never thought that was possible back in the day. So now, I mean, I would just say completely think all the way out the box, and it should work. I mean, you never know.
And I just add in there, I mean, as us both kind of see, just be persistent. You're going to go through some days where it's like, man, this ain't it. But you got to stick with it. You got to go through those ups and downs. You got to learn. You got to go through the fire. And basically be refined to become the person that you're supposed to be in order to handle what it is that you're trying to create. So I would say just be persistent and stay firm in what it is that you believe and make impact happen.
All right, Larry.
Yeah, gentlemen, congratulations for, thinking outside the box. So my question deals with, what are you projecting over the next 3 to 5, even 10 years out in terms of market share, or percentage of market share you think you could capture over the next 3 to 5 or even 10 years out?
Great question. So we actually believe that we can capture about 10%, and that's been aggressive with it, 10%. But we also have community that's backing us. Going back early 2024, I would say that we realized we had community is because when everything shut down with DEI. We were actually onboarding with, Cleveland clinics. We were onboarding with a lot of major corporations, and then supplier diversity programs shut down, which kind of put us at a pause. But what we did was we took a video that we had with Chase Bank that was already featured across the country through Chase and shopped it around through social media. So we really got to see the impact of what social media could do, and it allowed us to go viral. But from that, we're pushing almost, close to about $1 million in revenue this year just from that social media impact that we have seen over the past few months. And then that allowed us, what we just launched maybe a few days ago, is our equity crowdfund campaign, which now takes our mission and then allows not only to educate and elevate our people, but now gives them an opportunity to invest in our company and grow with us. So our valuation right now is about $6.8 million, but we look to grow this thing along with community and bringing them on board through crowd equity, to push it a little bit higher and really capture a lot of the market share. Because right now everybody's focused on there are a few that are.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. You started breaking up there. Finish that last point.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Finish.
Yeah. So we plan on capturing about 10%. I would say 8 to 10% over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. So, where is your? Let's see here. I'm on a website here. Where's your equity crowdfunding campaign?
Equity crowdfund campaign is on WeFunder. People can find that at www.wefunder.com/Leafy. Yep, /Leafy. Okay. And it'll pull us right up.
All right. right here. Let's see here. All right.
Yeah, we just launched it a couple days ago. That actually is about to update to around 42,000, but it's going pretty fast. And we're going right now. This is just friends and family round, but we're going to lock it, or we're going to shut it down at 100K, and then it's going to open back up at a different valuation. But
so right now it says 17,800 of a $50,000 goal, but you're going to actually raise that to 100,000 goal.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the goal is 100, but once it closes at 100, we're gonna reopen it again, but it's gonna be a different valuation. This was just like friends and family round.
Got it. Okay. All right. Mustafa.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations. Y'all doing amazing work. I mean, I personally invest in greener forms, green businesses and greener forms of energy. Just real quickly, I think it's about 85,000 trees that every day are culled to create toilet paper. It's about 34 million a year. You all are actually in a really good space in being able to also help our communities both breathe and the waste impacts that often are inside of our communities. I'm curious about, you currently have the toilet paper, but are you also thinking about other products? And if so, what do those look like?
Well, here we go right here. We got this is the tissue.
That's the facial tissue.
Facial tissue right here. What else you got?
So we are working on right now, we're working on our paper towels. Those should be releasing here within the next 3 to 4 months. Then also we'll move over to paper plates and forks and bar napkins and CFOs and things of that matter.
Yeah, the facial tissues are already they're in beta test through our hotel partners. Right now. Yeah, so we're getting real time feedback from the actual people who stay at these hotels to kind of integrate if there's anything that we need to change before we release it to the public. So those are about ready to go.
Okay. All right then. Let's see here. So again, if y'all want to get the product, go ahead and pull it up. shopblackstarnetwork.com. That's where you can actually. No, that's not what I want, y'all. I don't want the graphic. Okay. No, guys, y'all gotta do better. When I ask y'all to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com to buy the product, I need y'all to go to the website. Okay. So go to the website. So you see it right here. I'm on the website, and you see right here Leafy products, and it says co-founded by Marvin Green, DeAndre Martin, Charles Peaks. And you see right here where you can get it. So people have been asking the question. So to get a 24 single roll box is $32.99. To get a 12 single roll box is $22.99. Explain to us how. I mean, obviously, look, people make pricing decisions, and so how do your prices compare to toilet paper that we see in grocery stores or at big box retailers?
So right now we're neck and neck with a lot of the major brands. We do have to switch our pricing a little bit due to us not having any chemicals or anything at all. So pretty much like shopping in the organic section of the grocery store. So if you were to go buy organic apples or anything like that, you'd probably have maybe a 5% markup, if that. But with the volume that we're seeing, we're able to fight those type of prices and be able to compete with the major brands as well. So we're right neck and neck with them.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions from the panelists? All right, cool. So again, y'all, go to the website. You will see right here where it says Leafy products. If you go to the home page, one second, you go to the home page, you will see right there, they are at the top. Right there. These are the other products that are on shopblackstarnetwork.com. We've had some of these folks on the show as well. And so again, these are black-owned companies. Great products. At the end of the day, I don't give a damn who you are. Your ass buy toilet paper. You know you do. So you can support a black-owned company and get more information, read more about them as well here. And so the product is called Leafy. And as I said, they have, of course, this is the single roll here. This, of course, is the 6-pack. But really, as you see right there, it says 6 = 18 because this is the 3-ply, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so again, on the website, they have the 24 single roll box or they have the 12 single roll box. Those are the two products they have right now. And so, folks, please support them. And gents, we appreciate it. Good luck on the crowd fundraise as well.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. Folks, that is it for us right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on this Tuesday. Let me thank Mustafa, Larry, and Tyler for being on today's show. Gents, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, don't forget, the information you get on this show, y'all, you ain't getting this other places. You're not getting other places. Ain't nobody else in Black on Media doing what we're doing. So we need your support for us to continue doing our work. Join us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars allow us to be able to fund the operation, fund our 5 shows, do all things that we do. So please support us. And so Cash App, you see the striped QR code. Here we go right here. And then if you're listening, go to Roland Martin Unfiltered or BlackStarNetwork.com to get the link. Checks in money order, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Don't forget, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You also, of course, can get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores everywhere. Be sure, of course, to get our swag. That's right, get our shirts and all of our good stuff. Go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. Just to let y'all know, we are also doing a test with another company. We've been having some issues with Custom Spring. A lot of y'all been emailing, and so I'm working on that to test a second company, and we hope to have that up very soon, like real soon. Don't forget, you can also listen to our audio podcast. You can go to iHeartRadio and you can the podcast network to hear content as well. And of course, be sure to download the app, Fan Base, and you can download it there. And of course, you can get more information on the crowdfunding raise. They've raised $12.5 million of $17 million. So go to startengine.com/fanbase. Y'all, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow, right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Right now it's time for Truth Talks.